Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And as always, today is another very exciting day because I'm joined by another very special guest. She is a syncretist and naturopath with a passion for holistic healing and integrative health, is an educator for freedom, empowerment, self-development, and truth, and is the host of the Be Free with Dee podcast. There is, of course, so much more to this incredible woman. She is the beautiful inside out, one and only Dee. Dee, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Narita. I'm really grateful to be here.
Oh, it's so cool to finally connect with you. I've been following and loving your stories for a long time now, and you're just such an incredible soul. So maybe like, as you know, at the start of every podcast, for people who might not know much about you, who is Dee? Be Free with Dee.
Oh, that's a good question because I find every few years I go through this like transformation where I shed the old me and I'm like someone different and I'm like, who am I now? And I'm literally going through that right now.
I can relate. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
so at this stage, at this point in my life, as you mentioned, I am a syncretist, so that's something new that I'm starting to delve into with Annette. So, and you've seen like all our posts and stuff. So, yeah, I'm finding I'm really passionate about that, and you learn a lot through symbolism. So that's what we're doing. We're going into symbolism, what we're seeing in the media, what we're seeing even around us in the earth, in the seasons, in the planets, and we're learning so much. We're incorporating that with religion, philosophy, mythology, and I find that the answers are there symbolically. That's a universal language, and that's been a pretty fascinating journey for me recently. Yeah, and I am a naturopath. So even that I'm starting to kind of change in a way where I don't want to just focus on the physical side of healing. Now I'm trying to incorporate other aspects like, body energetics, looking at how your body stores trauma, the emotional blockages, all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of dabbling in that now as well. What else? And look, I am part of the freedom community, I guess, in the last few years when we were experiencing a lot of the tyranny. I was very passionate about freedoms and being able to live without having to follow tyrannical rules. And at this stage of my life, I've come to a point where I acknowledge that there needs to be authority because most people are like children. But there is a small minority of us who are ready to step out of that and be sovereign and don't need to follow all these rules, and we can live freely. And now I'm just trying to navigate, how do we do that? How do we do that whilst like the rest who aren't ready remain in their little, parenthood with the government, and the rest who are ready to be, I suppose, independent don't need to fall in that category. So that's where I'm at now. So that's a bit of a summary of Dee right now today.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I can so relate to everything that you're saying. And like, because we are always evolving, we're not the same people that we were even 2 weeks ago, let alone who we are, now 5 years ago, all that sort of stuff. And we have to allow for that. And I love that you're looking into the trauma and the energetics as well, because I think that is just huge. For me, that's just been massive as well. Like just looking at, I mean, everyone has trauma. Everyone has trauma, and that's why so much of what's going on in the world is being played out outwardly because as above, so below, as you know.
Hmm.
So when we look at that work, do that work within, that's how we can make changes. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the biggest things I've realized is the outside world is just reflecting what's, in the inside. And I see in my life, whatever I'm lacking or whatever I'm needing to learn, it shows up externally, like a big freaking mirror. And until I acknowledged that and started to address those issues, they weren't changing for me. So I see it in my own life. That's why I believe it. So
Mm. Yeah, I think the amount of times that's happened to me too, like I'll like be going through this uneasiness with someone or something, or
Mm.
going through some inner work or whatever it might be, and you see that playing out there, and you're just like, wow, it's just incredible that it really is a mirror. And then like all this work as well that you guys have been doing, and that the white pill for people who might not know, with the synchronicity, sorry, the symbolism.
Mm.
That has been amazing too, because I mean, I even remember back in the day, like the number 811 would come up for me, and for me that would be a sign for me that okay, I'm on the right path, and that was just my sign. But then all of a sudden it started coming in different ways, and you guys really just broke it down, which was phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's just all of these things all come together. The world, the whatever we're in, the realm is symbolism. And if we can tap into that, but also get to know ourselves so we can be discerning when we're looking at all of this stuff as well. And obviously, there is just so much there to learn. We just can't know it all. So
Mm.
everyone's got these bits of the puzzle too. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, look, it's funny because me and Annette, the white pill, we always talk about the more we're learning, the more we are humbled
Yeah.
and the less we want to actually talk. Because the irony is the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know and
Yeah.
just how little we really know. And and I said to her, I go, I know how you feel. I feel the same, but this is the right path and we need to put it out there for people because people are going around in circles, they're on the religion train or they're on the I don't know, whatever, like the new age train and they're not really getting anywhere.
Mm.
And it's interesting since looking into traumas and personality personality types, um, I've noticed that specific people with specific traumas and personality types tend to either lean on religion or lean on New Age beliefs. It's
Mhm.
really interesting how, um, yeah, like depending on what's playing out within you, whether, there's different personality types. You have the merging pattern, the leaving pattern, the rigid, and a lot of these are looking for something external to them because
Mm.
they were never taught in their infancy to trust themselves. And so that then they become easy targets for organized religion, and look, I think religion is great to a certain point of your development. I think it teaches people morals and values and respect, but then to a certain point, you don't really progress after that, and then you get stuck, pleasing a god, and I don't know, just very closed-minded, narrow-minded in a fear state, I find. So that's how I feel, and I don't mean to offend anyone who's religious, but that's been my experience within myself and what I'm just observing with others. But there's more beyond that, and I think when people learn to be their inner authority, they will no longer need a religion or a book to tell them, what's right or wrong or how to behave or a government to tell them, no, don't run red lights and so that's just where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, no, I feel that too, because obviously you're so bang on when you say that. So many of us weren't taught how to trust ourselves, or so even just making decisions can be really debilitating for some people. So just, someone saying what to do, that makes it so much easier. And it's not like bad of that person. Like we've all done it. It's just the patterning and the programming that we've had. And so if we don't look at that and start to go, okay, why am I doing that? Like, why is that showing up for me? Like, we can't evolve, and we're creators, so we've got to create, we've got to evolve, we've got to fall over, fall in our face, get it freaking wrong. And yeah, like, I totally get what you and Annette are saying too, with just like, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So you think, oh, do I say anything? Because like that maybe what you're going to share now is going to change and evolve from this moment. But we're all in the boat together, so we've got to share what we're learning, and be like you said, you're humbled all the time. You're humbled all the time with all this stuff, and just be open to what comes through.
Yeah. And that's the thing with So with syncretism is different to symbolism for those who are a little bit confused. Syncretism is like the study of all religion and all philosophy, mythology, and finding the similarities and where things fit. You know,
Mm,
you try and crack the code using syncretism, and symbolism is what we use to crack the code, right?
yeah.
And ever since I've been down this syncretism, symbolism path, um, people fear it because they don't get it and they
Mm,
think it's like witchcraft or we've been labeled witches, we've been labeled Satan worshippers, we've been labeled all this horrible stuff. But when you go down this path and you see what the symbolism is telling you and you see everything linking up around you, you realize just how powerful you are and what like this has been designed to keep you away from your own power because of how powerful you are. It even scares the shit out of me, like fuck, like we have so much power, we have so much untapped abilities and gifts we don't even know about,
mm,
we can't even comprehend. And they've been very smart with religion in teaching people that any sort of magic, right, is evil and the devil worship. So imagine if I unlocked my dormant DNA and I started to do telekinesis or telepathy or whatever, right?
mm,
Those people are going to burn me at the stake, right?
yeah.
Because they've been taught that those powers, that's magic, that's from the devil. But what they don't understand is the only way you can tap into that is if you activate your dormant DNA and if you open up all the chakras and channels, and only people with pure hearts can do that. So it's like if anyone gets to that point in their life, then they are only capable of good. There is no bad, there's no sprinkle of bad in them. And this is what we're learning through the symbolism and syncretism is how powerful we can be and how much we're so unaware of that, and it's really so empowering and it's so exciting. You don't need a priest or anyone to stand there, a guru to tell you all this stuff. You don't need that. It's all there for us to look at, with open hearts and open eyes and open minds. So yeah.
No, I feel that. And I'm so with you. We're so powerful. We've just been closed off from it. And it is like it is an exciting time and it's such an adventure and like discovering all these things and just going, oh wow, I'd never seen that before. Like, oh, I never thought of that way. Or that makes so much sense now. Like to be able to be in that state of play, like childlike play, like and not, because of course there is a lot of shit out there too, but for us to be able to really remember how powerful we are, it doesn't take that many people. I mean, to make a change. I mean, we saw that through the 8/11 work that you guys did. Like, I know that it could have been so much different. Like, we are very powerful beings. And so when we tap into that and remember that and just know it, it's just a knowing, isn't it? It's like you can't explain it. There's no words. There's no
Mm.
words for it, is there?
It is very hard to explain, but that's because it's a heart frequency thing.
Mm.
And the truth is like it's often, with science, we're so behind in science that, they're discovering things that people have said hundreds and hundreds of years ago today.
Yeah.
So we're always behind when it comes to science and having to prove stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of people need that proof, that evidence. They need that, science backup for everything that when it's a heart frequency thing, they don't really understand it,
Mm.
because we're so disconnected from ourselves and our intuition and just trusting what we don't see. But there's EMFs and there's wind and there's air and all sorts of things that we don't see but we know it's there, so why not this. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Dee. Like that's the thing. And like you guys talk, we're coming back to our heart right now. This is the thing, and I know you and Annette have talked about this a lot, and there's lots there to unpack. But I mean, that is the place that we're coming from. That is where we understand truth. And it's a portal, I guess, as well, too, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the time when people are being triggered by, a truth, like it's always because there's something that they're not wanting to face within themselves. It's a trauma response.
Mm.
And not saying I have all the answers and I know everything and I know the whole and complete truth, but I really see when people get triggered, especially towards Annette and I can see what's actually coming out of them and they're projecting onto us. And
Mm.
it's this fear of, having to stand on your own and trust something that you've not familiar with because you've always been taught to follow something outside of you. And
Mm.
now we're asking people to follow something inside of you. And that for some people, or most people, I guess, is so hard to just to connect and trust themselves. But there's so much inside there going on that scares the shit out of them. And I guess it brings up like, if I'm gonna listen to myself, what I'm alone, maybe brings up being on your own, like you knowing there's a God there or there's a prophet there, you feel like you've got someone's holding you, but you can hold yourself. Like, I mean, God is the creator of all things and you're always connected to God, but you're also an expression of God and you're on your own too. Like you've got to do this on your own. It's
Mm.
not, you can't rely on God. God's there to carry you unconditionally or whatever, but this is your journey and this is up to you. You make the decisions. You're the decision maker of this vessel, that carries that God essence. So we're not alone. No, we're just looking outside of ourselves too much, and we
Mm.
have to look within, and that's really scary. It's very scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it is because it involves doing the inner work. It involves doing the mirror work. It involves looking at the parts of yourself that you're not really proud of, you don't want to look at, or those trauma um, things, like you said, like the feelings of abandonment, feelings of being alone, feelings of being seen, feelings of not being seen, like all of those things come up, and there's that disconnect as well. So it sometimes like the trauma is that, but it's also, okay, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to ask this person. And like it's also nuanced as well because you do want to have conversations with your people that you trust and bounce ideas and communicate and have community as well. But again, that's like you don't want to be reliant on that either. That again, that's looking outside of you. So coming home to you to be with you, it can be scary. And I think I just this last 4 years especially has just brought so much of that up that people were being triggered earlier on with that. Now it's this, like there's always something, but it's getting more and more intense. And I think we have to do this work. We have to look at it. That's part of it. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, 100%. And I find that like what happened with all the scamdemic lockdowns, that was a big catalyst to get people to wake up and realize how are we living? What are we doing in our lives? Are we giving our power away? It was massive. It and it really did its thing. It did an amazing job. But it doesn't stop there. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't
Mm.
stop there. And it's interesting because I instead of people growing, I saw them revert or regress and go back, go run to a safety net, to a religion that's going to protect them. That's what I saw a lot of. But then there was a lot of people who saw the contradiction in their religion because they had priests and stuff telling them to get vaccinated. They started to question religion and question the whole, structure of it all, and then they left that. So again, like we're always being tested. We're always being tested, and it comes down to what you're doing within yourself. And are you brave enough to look in the mirror and say, what is this telling me about myself? And am I leaning on someone or something? And it's okay. It's okay to like I have a mentor. I was seeing John. He was so good at connecting me to myself. And now it's like I can't go against myself
Mm.
even more than
Yeah.
before. So now whenever there's something happening and I know that I'm abandoning myself or I'm not listening to myself, it's more painful for me because
Yes.
I know what it feels like to be connected to myself and my truth. Anyway, where's I going with that? Yeah, so it's okay to have support and have
Mm,
mentors and see therapists, as long as we're not always like, and sometimes you need to ask someone their perspective to pull you out of the emotion so you can see it for what it is, or see what's playing out. You need that logical mind at times. But
mm,
at the end of the day, when the emotions are gone, when you're calm and centered, you need to check in with yourself, regardless of what you read in that book, what you listened to that person, or what your friend said. Check in with yourself and what's true for you, when everything settles. And that's what I think, we need to do. Yes, we can use all these resources and people to help us, help guide us, help us work through things. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And that's where I'm at with the world and what's happening, and just how I'm noticing patterns in people. And we'll get there. I really think that we don't really have a choice, Narita. Like, I think that Mother Nature, or where whatever this is, Earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call it, she's her frequency is like expanding and
mm,
growing. And if we don't do the work to keep up, we're not going to make the cut. We're going to be, bye bye, back to the recycling center, whatever you want to call it. And that's it. That's that. Your choice is either do the work, keep evolving with Mother Nature, and keep evolving in alignment with nature, or you're gonna pass. You're gonna probably die because you're injecting yourself with vaccines, or because you're putting a microchip in your brain. And this whole technology thing, it's not people are going to extinct themselves. This is what I believe. It's just
mm,
a natural, the way that nature works is, if you don't live in alignment, you're out of here. That's how it works. And it's getting tighter now. Like, we had this broad thing before COVID where people can do shit and get away with it, and treat their bodies like crap, and just live in such toxic ways. Now that's narrowing, and people aren't getting away with it, and it's catching up with people. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it as a naturopath. Like, I'm seeing it all around me, in the people around me. They're not getting away with what they used to anymore, because the frequencies are higher, and therefore you're going to feel the lower vibrations a lot more. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I feel like as you're saying that, like it's just like I feel like it's a squeeze. Like
Mm.
everyone's being squeezed, and you're either like, yeah, you're in or you're out. And it's like I mean, nature is our biggest teacher, and we're here, she's evolving, we're evolving, and if we're not, like, yeah, I feel like it's as simple and not simple as that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's simply not simple. Yeah, because it's getting tough. Like, it's getting tough. That's the non-simple part. But the simple part is, keep evolving and keep growing, and remove your patterns and your limiting beliefs. And and this is where people, and this is what Annette, the white pill, really emphasizes. In every moment, you're making a choice, and what you're doing, everything is being recorded energetically.
Mm,
So, if you're going to choose to lie or deceive, or be sneaky about something, or do someone wrong, no one might notice that. But energetically, you're telling the universe something about yourself.
mm,
And the universe is not going to continue having sneaky, dishonest people here. It's
mm,
not. And you're going to cop it. So, like, my biggest thing for people is do what's right. Be in your heart all the time. You're not perfect, and don't be hard on yourself if you've done things. A lot of it is subconscious and is survival mode. A
mm,
lot of it is like, we quickly react and try and take something because we think we need it for survival. We have to pick up on those little subtle things, those little subconscious behaviors that we've, allowed in our life because it got us somewhere, or we needed it as a little kid to survive. But we have to outgrow that, and,
mm.
and be compassionate and be loving, and try and be conscious of those little things that you do that may not be in alignment with, your higher self or a pure heart. And just do your best. We're not perfect. I always do shit, and I'm like, fuck, why did I do that? Like, and then I'll write it down and I'll be like, don't do that anymore. And
Yeah.
that's it. It's just like a trial and error learning, growing process. And you got to be compassionate, and you got to be as long as you're trying your best, and everyone's best is different, that's to
Mm.
me what matters most.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that, 100%. Like that is it. Like once we become aware of those thoughts as well, those behaviors, like just give yourself some love, man. You are literally breaking patterns from not just your own life, but bloody generations. So just go, oh fuck, wish I hadn't have done that. But whatever, you can go, you can see, okay, I'll handle it different next time. Or I handled that better than I did the time before, I'll be better next time. Like, that's we've just got to give ourselves the love. And that is how we grow. We don't expect a 4-year-old to stay a 4-year-old for the rest of their lives. They grow and evolve. So we don't stop either just because we've become adults who are probably sometimes still children in adults' bodies, like we still grow, we still evolve. We've got to do that work. And to me, that is how we change and raise consciousness. And we didn't come here to be aware and to not keep doing, like to not make change, to not grow and evolve. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah, yeah, I totally do. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely think it's a very interesting time to be alive. And yeah, as you said, like it's just part of the process. We are ending or breaking a lot of generational stuff. And a lot of that stuff was survival.
Yeah,
It was
definitely.
flight, fight. It was yeah, reactivity. And I think the biggest key is learning to not react. You get that impulse to react. It's just learning to just sit with things sometimes, because yeah, back like I think because of all the wars and the fights and back in the day, everyone was just like fighting for this, fighting for the land, and that's probably ingrained in us, like
Mm,
um in our nervous systems, I guess, or how our brains are wired. But we're trying to reverse that now because we've come out of that. We're not barbaric anymore. We're ascending in the way we behave. We're becoming more conscious. So yeah, there's a really good book that I'm reading. It's called The Existential Kink. Can't even say that word.
yeah.
Have you heard of that word
No,
book
I
before?
haven't heard of that one. I'm gonna write this one down. What's it called again for everyone at home?
The Existential Kink.
Existential kink. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds cool,
I
actually.
like it because it's it basically talks about everything that you experience and you have in your life is because you want it to some level, even subconsciously,
Yeah,
right? There's
yeah.
a subconscious part of you, including a toxic relationship or a bad dynamic in your life or whatever, something that's playing out that you don't like, that's deemed negative or bad. There is a part of you that actually enjoys it and
Mm,
something about it, and that's the trauma part, right? And
yes.
it actually teaches you to embrace that part of you because when you keep rejecting and fighting, it doesn't actually allow you to embrace it, and so you're constantly going to attract it.
Mm,
It explains it a lot better than I just did, but I'm reading it and I find it really interesting, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like I never saw it that way. And
mm,
it's almost like you're not denying yourself anymore, and
mm.
you're kind of feeding that part of you that wants to experience that or have that fucked up relationship, and then it's like, all right, I'm over it now. And then you just
Yeah.
move on,
Yeah.
and it's just another way of looking at things and another way of I guess working through stuff. And like it's so different to whatever else I've come across. I'm like, this might work for people. Like it's working for me in some ways too.
Mm,
But you don't want to get stuck in being addicted to drama or toxicity. And that's not what the book, is about. Yeah, but it's such just another approach and another way to look at things and have love for yourself and love those dark parts of you and those shadows. And when you love them and acknowledge them, then they no longer have power over you. So yeah, that's a good book. If you haven't read it, I recommend having a read.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely on the list now. And I totally got what you meant then because there is that subconscious part that does enjoy some of that stuff or it's familiar. It's familiar. So
Mm.
it's more of it's how you've always been. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And then when you can acknowledge it and go, oh, I see that. Like
Mm.
it's really interesting actually that you say that. It's funny in people often say like if I'm talking to them, they'll say, "Oh, what's your favorite podcast or this or that?" And I can never like say an episode, but what actually happens is it almost in every single one, there's a message for me that I'm just like you've already said something that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just hit something, you know? And I just hope that happens with everyone when they're listening to different conversations. Like it's just, you know, you just get those little gold nuggets that might not be, it's just something that just lands. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Just another one.
You're welcome. And I totally understand. The same thing happens to me as well. When I interview people, I'm like, shit, like that hit home. Like I needed to hear that, you know? And that's the thing. The universe is always supporting you.
Yes.
And this is something that John, who was my mentor, taught me. He's like, when you make the right decision and when you do the right thing and you're in alignment, the universe always backs you up. It always supports you.
Yeah.
And it's so, so true. And there's that, I've always had this part of me that doesn't trust, you know, I'm like, I have trust issues or whatever.
Mm,
And accepting that and realizing that I've been able to see it play out in my life. Because you just think life's not fair, like bad shit happens to me, like as if the universe cares, blah blah. But no, it's true, like it's true, and I see that in my life now. Like when I make a decision, and it's aligned with my my higher self and the right thing. I'm always so supported and I'll get confirmation or I'll get people come into my life or things pop up that give me the insight or the wisdom that I needed, you know, and we just have to trust that and just follow our hearts, really, like, literally follow our hearts.
yeah. And I can so relate to that too with the trust thing. Like
Mm,
it's a big thing and I reckon a lot of people can. And one of my mentors said the exact same thing John said to you. It's like when you make the decision based on your truth and you're in alignment with that, like it's you can't go wrong. But that doesn't mean that it will be an easy decision
mm.
or an easy truth. Like you know what you have to do sometimes. It takes a lot of courage to do that as well. Do you find that too? Like even though sometimes you know what you got to do, but it's fucking hard. It's fucking
Yeah,
hard. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I can relate to that during the scandemic.
Mm,
um that with all that was happening, I mean, you saw how I was coming out and speaking out, you know, and it's crazy because like I think about it now, how much the authorities really disliked that. And
mm,
but you know, I was thinking about it, a lot of people who were doing what I was doing, right? But I don't think they were coming from a good place. I think there was a bit of ego involved or opportunistic type things, like maybe money making or whatever.
mm,
They like I saw a lot of those people get arrested or, what's it called? Like Monica was in jail for a few days and
mm,
a few other people, and she was like all about selling this and selling that. But I got away, and the way I got away is another story. But I basically had all these signs from the universe, telling me and warning me, and I was just doing things without like understanding why I was doing them. I just knew I had to. And they couldn't touch me. They couldn't touch me. I managed to slip through the cracks and I was fully protected.
mm,
And that was because I was doing the right thing. I had good intentions. I wasn't capitalizing on the community, the vulnerable community, making money off people. I never
mm,
charged a single cent for any information I put out there. Um, and I truly believe because of that, I was fully protected and the universe had my back because I had so much courage and I was basically in a way sacrificing myself for the greater good, but um I guess not in like a sadistic way or anything like that. But
yeah.
so I think that experience is to me has proven to me that when you do what's right and you have the courage and you fight against a bigger evil or whatever, um you're always going to be protected. And so when the 8/11 stuff came along, I wasn't concerned at all. Me and
Mm,
Annette wasn't concerned either because she saw in the symbolism how those who, do the right thing, they're never going to. So we've actually talked about it. And you know how people get killed for speaking out
mm.
or, what do they call them, whistleblowers or whatever.
Whistleblowers. Yeah, yeah.
We actually believe that those people may have signed contracts or there might have been some sort of a deal. And and they broke that contract, therefore they were taken out. Or there was
Mm,
something and some entanglement there.
yeah.
We don't know. Um, but for those who come across the information themselves, who don't get told by some guy in a high secret society
Mm,
and are speaking publicly, they're fully protected because and you saw what happened to Annette and I. Like we didn't after the whole thing happened and went down and they really downplayed it. No one came to us, no police came to us and said, you basically disrupted the whole of, Sydney that day. Like no one went to work. People were freaking out, that kind of stuff you don't get away with if it
mm,
was if it was just like a considered a joke or someone being having a psychotic episode. They don't let that shit slide easily.
mm,
But they never came up to Annette and I. Annette rang the police, like she rang them. They
mm,
never came up to any of us and said, you guys caused a big headache that day. A lot of people didn't go to work, a lot of people freaked out, blah blah blah. We didn't get anything for that. You know what I mean? And that to me is like it's really interesting because I believe that there was something that had happened, but they really downplayed it. And
mm,
we wasn't going with that. Oh yeah. So nothing will ever happen to us
mm,
because we haven't signed our souls over to the devil or whatever you want to call it. We haven't made these agreements and these contracts. No one's given us this information. We've learnt it ourselves and we're fully protected. Like nothing's gonna touch us because it doesn't work like that.
mm,
Because they can't shut people down who work it out,
mm,
and I was thinking about this the other day and I said to Annette, like I've always read that it takes one person to attain like Jesus's consciousness for the world to change. They always say that.
mm,
Like if one person can achieve Jesus, the Christ energy, the Christ consciousness, you can change the world. Like it will impact the world basically. And I was thinking about, I'm like, I think that's very symbolic because I think if one person can crack the code, it takes one person to work it out and
mm,
crack the code and put it out there. That's it. And I think that's why it's been so hidden and
mm,
there's so much reveal and conceal and deception around symbolism and the codes. Because the minute one person pieces it together, to me, game over because you've
mm,
worked it out. And that it's only so much time until everyone else starts seeing it. And that's what's happening now. And
mm.
it is basically going to be game over in a few years as everyone kind of catches up and sees it because they're making it more and more obvious because we're coming towards the end of an age. So that's exciting. That's really exciting.
It is exciting. It's so exciting because it's like that ripple effect that just keeps spreading. So people are waking up in their own ways and seeing things in their own ways. Do you think people will see things how, like, break it down like this, or will it just become an inner knowing for some people? Do you know what I mean? Like, not everyone
Yeah.
will look and break it down like maybe we love to look at everything and break it
Yeah.
down that way. Like, it'll just be like a almost a switch that flicks on within people, or
It's
that has
that's a
already.
That's a really good question, Narita, because it can happen both ways. And I really think it depends on how people's brains function
Yeah.
and whether they're more left brain or right brain. So
Mm.
the people who are more right brain will probably feel it more.
Yeah.
And they'll probably, I mean, they've got that creative side as well. They'll probably notice the patterns. But I know people who are like, I don't get it logically, but I feel it. A lot of
Mm.
people say that. They're like, I just logically, I can't. I can't
Yeah.
put it together, but I feel it like when you talk, it resonates, it makes sense. And then you have people who are like, I see it everywhere, like I see it, like they're more seeing it, they're more logical, they can piece it together, but obviously they're not the other aspect of it, I don't know if they're feeling it or not, they don't talk about that. So
Mm.
it goes both ways and depends how we're wired, but the key is to have that congruency between the left and right because
Mm.
you want to have the logic, but you also want to have the creativity and connect to your feelings. And if we can get that, then people will really be like getting it completely, and
Mm.
um even with me, sometimes I tend to be more logical. Sometimes I feel it and I don't see it, but I feel it. And I'm like, maybe my logic will catch up to that one day.
Yeah.
But the
Oh,
more the more trauma therapies and the more, I guess, peeling back the layers and breaking patterns that I'm doing, the more it's removing those obstacles for feeling and understanding logically for me. So the
Yeah.
key is doing the inner work, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, A, truth resonates, and B, just when you share your stories and Annette as well, like, I know, and I know that I would be speaking for a lot of other people as well, too. Like, it just
Mm.
resonates doing the inner work. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's like, that's the stuff. It's the removing of the layer. It always comes back to that. Like, I've always said, begin within. That's where it starts. Like, it's the layers. Take them off, take those blocks out the way. Like, get support where you need it to do the work, like, because we've got it all within us. So it's just all those layers, invisible coats, all those things that have just been put on top of us. And the more that they're taken away and we allow ourselves to shine, and yeah, like you said, just like come into balance and to be able to see um, what's going on and feel it as well. Like we're
Mm.
such feeling creatures and we all have intuition. We all have psychic ability. We all have these gifts. And we tap into them differently because we're all unique pieces of the puzzle, but we express it and we've got that. So I'm with you. It's such a freaking exciting time. It's such an awesome time to be alive and to be able to see this unfold in real time and be part of the game that
Mm.
like to be able to see it all and just have everyone's little gold nuggets come in. Like that's what's really
Yeah.
cool.
It's so exciting, and the beauty of it is like it's not just me and Annette. Like
Yeah.
we have a whole group, and
Mm,
people have brought so much to our attention that we weren't aware of, and it's like a collaborative effort.
mm,
I want people to like to really understand this. You don't have to get it logically.
yeah.
Um, say, for example, you have one person who gets everything logically, who sees the symbolism, who's pieced it together, who understands everything logically, versus someone who doesn't, but their heart is so open and they're doing the right things and they're in their life, their actions, their behaviors is reflecting the symbolism of how they should behave. This person who's doing and embodying and feeling is going to get further than the person who's just logical and critical and in their mind. So, yeah, don't get so stuck on being up here because that's not enough. The key is here.
Yeah.
And anyway, I do think that once this opens up, it does help kind of, understand it at a deeper level.
Mm,
It's not even logical. It's just a knowing. It's really interesting. And I've had that experience. But yeah, I think as a society, there's a big emphasis on like knowledge and learning and knowing and understanding that we tend to be too much up here and not enough down here. And I get it. I'm like that. I want to know everything. I want to
yeah.
know, like I really do. And I have to calm down and say, yes, knowing is one thing, but are you embodying, like are you feeling? Are you doing what feels right and what resonates? And are you coming from the heart? Because knowing is not enough. Like it's not, that's not but there's a lot of emphasis on that because I guess they want us to be up here. They want us to forget this part. And that's, yeah, people who are really smart and intelligent and who could memorize a textbook put on a pedestal, for example,
Mm,
but that's not going to get you where you want to go. It might get you accolades and I don't know, you might get some kind of award and recognition, but in terms of, activating dormant DNA and connecting to your intuition, not really going to get that far, So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that and not to stress so much about up here.
yeah. I'm so glad you said that because I think that is so um across the board that it's like I don't know enough. I don't know enough information. I can't share my truth because I don't know. So you're stuck, like you said, up here and it's all about coming back to the heart and feeling and feeling. And a lot of people are scared to feel as well too because we have been so conditioned to be up here, but
Mm.
it when you do start to do it, it's like a money can't buy thing.
Mm.
It is such a gift to be able to come into your heart. And you think of the original people, they don't have textbooks and big lots of, they just have a knowing and an understanding that is just incredible. And we all have that. We all have that. It's just coming back to it and remembering it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Mm.
And that pattern where you're up here and you're not in your body and
Yeah.
not in your heart is it's common for the leaving pattern
Mm.
personality type. So
Yeah.
the leaving pattern personality type, they basically it's an injury that can happen in the womb because you
Mm.
feel the energies of being here, the density, and even if your mother had some sort of a trauma whilst you were in her belly, you felt that. And you're like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to come here, man. This place is intense. So
Yeah.
the leaving pattern is people who reside up here because they don't want to be in here. It's too painful. It's too confronting. And I do this, like this is why I'm talking about it. But
Mm.
yeah, what can happen is you tend to just be all in the mind because it takes you away from your feelings.
Mm.
And like I said, I do this quite often. It's one of my patterns that I go into when
Yeah.
things get a bit tough for me, and I have to learn to bring myself down and be like, it's okay. Be in your body, feel your feelings. You're gonna
Yeah.
be fine. You just like the only way out is through. And if you keep ignoring that, you're gonna keep attracting situations that are gonna keep forcing you to confront those feelings, or
Mm.
those, whatever you're processing in here or needing to process. So yeah, it's again, that's the leaving pattern type is very much up here. And people can become very like psychic because you're using a lot of your like upper chakras,
Mm.
but you're not grounded. So
Yeah.
you can't bring it in. And you may be able to help others, but when it comes to yourself, you abandon yourself basically. So it's so interesting. There's a book, it's called The Five Personality Patterns. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot the guy's name. I what's his name? Is the book here? No, it's in my room because I read it. But yeah, I recommend everyone read that book because we all go into pattern and we all have developmental cycles and stages that we haven't processed and healed. There's been an injury at some stage of our development from like being in your mother's stomach, infancy, childhood to even as teenagers, there's teenage injuries that, are still playing out and we
Mm.
go into pattern and we don't realize it. But if you read that book, you'll know when you go into pattern and you'll know what to do. And you can then use your personality type or pattern as a gift because they all come with a gift. Like the leaving is very like, they're tapped in, they can be very psychic. The merging is very empathetic. You can feel other people's stuff because you're merging with people. The rigid is really good at noticing patterns. Like I have that as well. I'm a big rigid. And yeah, I think aggressive type, it can be a good leader when they're
Mm.
not trying to take over people. So, yeah, it's so interesting. I went on a tangent there, but
I
the
love it.
yeah, so basically that's the people who are in their head a lot, would be your classic leaving patterns or even
Mm.
rigids, because rigids do they focus on what they want to be like they want to be perfect and they focus on like what can I do? What can I learn to be perfect? So you're always in your head and there's a
Mm.
lot of tension in the jaw and stuff. So a lot of the patterns do you abandon yourself and
Yeah.
it's about learning how to get rid of that body armoring and come back to your core self. So
Mm.
yeah, recommend that book to read it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I just love that you're talking about this because it's something that I'm just like looking into even more and more at the moment as well. But also like, you're talking about the traumas, like they're like a loop. Like so many of us have got an open loop. Like we're supposed to close the trauma like the animals do, like when
Yeah.
something happens, they kind of shake it off, like the somatic sort of thing, but we'll have like an open loop. So it's there and that causes that pattern. And we want to be able to close that pattern so that we can then move on and level up, so to speak. So, I love that you're reading these books at the moment because it's all about patterns, isn't it? It's just like
Yeah.
noticing where am I doing that? And I can relate. I'm sure so many people can relate to being in the head and like, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's just I could talk about this for days because it's the stuff that makes us tick. And
Mm.
so if we understand ourselves at the deepest level, well, I mean, gosh, the world's our oyster, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, it's actually not that hard. It's
No.
not that, and we're so close. Like,
Yeah.
keep going, keep
Yeah.
going, and have fun too, enjoy life too. But also don't ignore that the times of when there's something coming up and trying to tell you something about yourself. Don't ignore it. Use that as an opportunity. Like, okay, what's this telling me? And what can I, like, how can I remove whatever pattern or whatever things that playing out here so
Mm,
that you're no longer becoming a robot and a victim to your patterns. And this is the thing that me and Annette have also noticed is your traumas and your patterns can be used as a way to mind control you by the AI matrix. That's what we're
mm,
seeing.
mm.
And that's just another whole topic on its own. Like,
Yeah,
that's pretty deep. It's pretty deep because a lot of the time we're noticing people are being used as tools for symbolism, including people who are in the public eye.
yeah.
They don't even realize it. And it's because of their subconscious programs and their traumas or parts of them that they're not aware of. They can easily be mind controlled to become a symbolism spitter, you know?
Mm,
And it's we're still kind of exploring that concept, but that is literally what we're noticing because we know people who are up there
mm,
and they produce something and it's full of symbolism and we're like, did you know what you were doing? Did you know what why did you put that 8 there? Or
yeah.
why did you put that 11 there? Or why did you use that, color,
Mm,
whatever? Oh, it just came to me. That's what I did in the moment.
mm,
And we look at each other and we're like, this person is being honest. So
mm,
there must be some sort of like programming going on here in the backgrounds,
mm.
And yeah, we'll get in. Me and Annette, we're going to do some chats about that and get more into that. But we haven't really figured it out yet, but we're noticing it, we're noticing it. And it's a big question mark. It's a big like, what the hell? What's going on here? It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, that is so exciting. Like you see it with people who create anything creative, like art or films and things like that. And exactly what you said, like, did you plan to put that in there? So there's the organic intuition thing, and then there's the AI as well. So it's sort of that's where you have to learn to be discerning as well, too, don't you? Because you can't
Mm,
really yeah, you got to work out, oh, where is it actually coming from? Like, is that organic? Is it real, or is it coming, like, how do you know? How do you decipher that as well? Like,
exactly.
yeah, and I guess those patterns and programs, the more that you're aware of yourself and what that is, that's you can't be controlled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And
Mm.
I think there's a guy called Cakes and he kind of talks
Yeah.
about this. And he's like, when you become unpredictable and you're no longer running a program and repeating patterns, it's like you become invisible to the AI demiurge god of this construct. He
Mm.
believes that this is the matrix and it's controlled by an AI god, right? And
Hmm.
you become invisible to that god or AI construct. And so I think maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's that you're no longer being predictable because you're not repeating traumas and patterns. So it no longer has this like hypnotic effect on you from the symbolism or from whatever's happening around us.
Mm.
And so you just become a powerful own little creator being, an own little god in this matrix. And
Mm.
you kind of escape that unconscious control,
Mm.
that we're seeing in people. So that's where I'm at with it. But I'm still open to learning more and having more understanding around that whole thing. But it's pretty amazing, like what we've picked up on with this whole symbolism stuff and what we're noticing in people.
Mm.
And it's like we don't want to say it, but there's a lot of NPC type behavior out there. And we're just trying to understand, are they actual NPCs where they don't really have a soul and they're just repeating, they've just been given a assigned program or role? Or can they wake up? Can they break that? Like it's hard to know. We don't know that yet, and we're just still
Mm.
working it out. So it's exciting or what we can figure out down the track.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. Like, we don't know, and I'm like you. Like, I'm like, I want to know. Like, I want to understand it more and more. But it's just like, yeah. When you were talking about, the different things playing out and becoming invisible, I thought of that movie, the Adjustment Bureau. Is it that the one? Adjustment Report. The one with Matt Damon and the other chick, and he breaks the cycle and breaks the patterning and just goes against the patterns that he was supposed to be playing out. So yeah, it's a really good one.
Wow,
But
what's
yeah,
it called?
Is it the Adjustment Bureau? I'm sure someone in the comments will probably put it if I've got it wrong. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it's
okay.
that. Yeah.
All right, mad because I gotta watch that. That's symbol. That's really interesting. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot in that.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, all the movies have so much in there. There's
A
and I
lot.
feel like there's so many layers in all of the movies as well, and all the stories, all the parable. Like, there's just so much, and like you want to
Yeah.
be able to listen. Like I want to freeze time and just understand all of it. But that's part of the unfolding, part of the process for us. Like at some level, we already know it all. So this is
Yeah.
us re-remembering like what all these truths, and then we'll know because we'll feel it. So maybe this work that we're doing now with all the decoding of the symbolism and all that sort of stuff will just put us in great stead for this next part to go, oh, okay, that I'm switched. I get that. Like all these
Yeah.
other layers are removed now, even more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny because a few years ago, if you told me that I'd go back into watching movies and being a movie kind of, fanatic, I would have said, no way. Like, I'm done with Hollywood and I'm done with movies and I don't watch all that satanic brainwashing stuff. I see it so differently now. And
Mm,
because they have to tell us, and a lot of the time they're telling us through like film and creative arts and movies and shows and media, So that's, if you can watch things from um a perspective of trying to understand the hidden messages rather than getting caught up in the drama of the film and letting your own traumas play out or reliving your traumas in the film. If you can watch things and observe and try to separate your own stuff from that movie, there's a lot you'll actually learn and you'll get a lot of the hidden messages. And that's what I've been doing with Annette. We've been watching movies and it's hitting us very differently, and we
mm,
we always say, what the hell? We never thought we'd get into this. We've always like, nah, I don't even have a TV. Like, I don't even watch. Now when the news is on, we sit there and we'll be at the gym and we'll be like, oh, look at that. And we're like pointing things out in the news, we get excited to look at what they're putting out there.
mm,
So, and I think that's another trap that maybe the freedom community has has been kind of tricked into, is to fear Hollywood and fear the media and think it's brainwashing. And look, to a certain degree, it is brainwashing, but it is because you haven't dealt with your unconscious programs. So when you do that, you won't see it as brainwashing anymore because they don't have power over you anymore because you're conscious of those things. You've dealt with them.
mm.
So you're not being hypnotized anymore. You're at another level. You're in a totally different ball game
Yeah.
and you can observe now. You can observe and nothing can take over you. Like if you fear something that it's gonna control you or take over you, then you've got some work to do if you've got fear around that. And that fear is telling you you've got some unconscious stuff you're not aware of. So empower yourself by doing the work. That's all
Mm.
it comes down to.
Yeah. Amen to that. No, that's awesome. I'm just looking. We're all right for time, aren't we? Hang on. Oh, what time? I can't remember what you said now.
Oh, we got about 25 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Go your hardest. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. No, I just think this topic is just like I don't think we could talk about it enough. Like it's like how important, I mean, I probably sound like a broken record to people, but how important it is to do the work and like to allow yourself to be with yourself and to be uncomfortable. Like right now, I don't know what's going on with the lighting in this scenario here. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. It's a fucking awesome conversation. Like just show up as you are. Just, you know what I mean? Like, and just be you. Just allow your authenticity to flow and just have courage to take that step. And you don't have to do everything all at once. Like just take
Mm.
one step at a time. Like you can't do it all at once anyway, can you?
No. And look, it's hard because it's like you have to have that delicate dance and that delicate balance. Like you don't want to be constantly like reading and working on yourself because
Mm,
you got to let things play out. And I used
yeah.
to be like this. I used to sit in my room and read and read and read and write and write and write, and I wasn't living my life. So I was like theoretically amazing, but when it came to practicality, I wasn't letting myself apply any of that,
Yeah.
because I was just so like stuck on doing the work. And balance it out. Do the work, go and live your life, the universe will present opportunities and put the mirror in your face. When that happens, go back into your room, sit with your feelings. Okay, look at what it's telling you. Cool, I've done that. I've acknowledged that. I've sat with it. Am I distracting myself if I go out? Is there something I'm like trying to suppress here? Yes, no. Okay, no, I can go out now. Just be really mindful and try not to be one extreme to the other. This realm, it's that is the biggest challenge. The pendulum swings from one to the other, and the biggest challenge I find is people struggle to just stay in that middle point, you know? And when there's one extreme and the other, you're always missing something else.
Mm.
You're not acknowledging something else. You're either suppressing something, you're running from something. So when your pendulum is in the middle, you're balancing the theory with the practicality and the positivity with the negativity or whatever. So try and remain in the middle. And
Mm.
if you don't, that's okay too. It's just part of your journey.
Yeah. Well, that's so true, isn't it? Like we do, like we have swung, like I'm the same as you. Like we've swung this way too far. We've swung that, and that is part of it. So allow where you're at, like just give yourself some compassion for where you're at and just
Mm.
be where you are. But that's right. I mean, we can study all the books in the world, but if we don't go out and like experience life, then we're missing out on that part of the puzzle. Like we're here to experience it all. So it's the good, the
Exactly.
bad, the ugly, and the awesome, like all of those things. So
Exactly.
we've just got to do it.
And
Yeah.
there is a really good book called The Untethered Soul. You've probably heard of that one,
I
hey?
think I've read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
all about like that from memory, they do talk about the pendulum swinging far one side and the
Mm,
other, and how we miss the midpoint and we go from one extreme to the other. So that's a
mm.
good one. If you find that you're a big pendulum swinger, read that book.
Yeah. It'd be so funny, like, because it sounds like you probably read it ages ago too, but if I bet you if we read it now, like new truths would come through. Like, don't you just find that all the time?
Yeah, I think so too. If I was to read it again, I think that concept I've already understood. The next kind of deeper layer will come up for me for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing too. Like that's the thing about us doing what we do. Like we're going to keep
Mm.
coming back to deeper truths. Like we're going to keep coming back to different things like all the
Yeah.
time because like we understand something on some level. Like I've seen it in my life so much and it's just like, wow, I understood that, but now it's like another layer, another layer, another layer and it's you're coming deeper into yourself like and seeing things from another perspective. Like I know, like I can step back and I can observe things and go, okay, I can see why this is happening and what the lesson here that needs to be learned. But you also have to be in it and experience it as well too. Like, and remember that you're human. Like, just because you can see what's going on, like, oh, there's a lesson here for me to learn, or this is teaching me empowerment, or this is teaching me courage, or it's teaching me to love myself, whatever it might be. You still have to feel it as well. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like even though you get it logically, it has to register internally and
Yeah.
in the heart area. And that's my biggest struggle. I'm quite switched on and I'll
Mm,
see something playing out. For
yeah.
example, I was in a relationship a year ago and it wasn't very healthy. And I could see it. I could
Mm,
see everything. But this was like very conflicted, and I was like, okay. Even though you get it, but your heart's telling you one thing, you just sit with it. Let it come up, let the feelings come up, and at the end of the day, we'll never know really what we're actually doing in that moment. Is it generational? Is it
mm,
ancestral? Is it from your parents? Is it from you, from your childhood? But I believe it could even be collective. It could even be
mm,
collective energies that you're processing here. So, don't, yeah, like I guess what I tell myself is like you don't know what you're doing here. It could be pretty amazing. It could shift things for the collective. Just sit with it. And even though you don't not you get it up here and he's still yet to catch up, that's okay. But there's something in it for you to clear all that, and to
mm.
work on that part. So yeah, that's the whole nother aspect of it, isn't it? Like when you get it and you see it logically, but your emotions and your feelings are telling you something totally different. And that's always when there is some sort of underlying undealt with, you know, a trauma or pattern or emotion, or your nervous system is wired differently to what it should be. So there's a lot in that. That's a whole nother topic. Yeah.
It's big. It's big though, isn't it? It's big.
Yeah.
Like And I like what you said to sit with it because you don't know if it's for yourself, if it's the collective. Like, I mean, everything is connected anyway, but this little thing can be so big.
Mm,
Like, I think that's the thing too. Like, I always say, don't underestimate the power of just a little thing, like smiling at someone at the grocery store, saying, like just, noticing something beautiful about someone and letting them know, like, those little things you might think are little, but fuck, they can just spread so far. You don't know what the ripple effect will look like. Mm,
100%. And I always think that. I always think, hey, I just shifted this. I wonder what that's done. Like,
yeah.
on a, and do you know the interesting thing is like since since I worked with John and I've been, doing a lot of the patterning and the body armoring, because
Mm,
we get a lot of it from our parents.
yes.
I've noticed my mum she's changing as well. And I honestly think when you do the work and when you break those patterns and those, those traumas and cycles and body armoring that we get from our parents, it does something to them too.
Mm,
And it's so beautiful to see because I know my mom, she's not at the capacity to do that kind of stuff. Like
mm,
she's like 60 and she's been in these patterns for a long time. She's gone through war. Her nervous system is shot. For her to do this sort of stuff, it's heavy.
yes.
And how beautiful is it, to come along and to do this really hard work because I'm very blessed. I'm in a country where, it's not full of war and, people trying to kill each other and stuff like that. And even though at other levels, we are
Yeah.
being taken over. But do you know what I mean? Like at a survival sense, I have all my survival needs met. I'm
Mm,
I'm I'm so safe and comfortable. I have food on the table. I have a bed to sleep in. I have a roof over my head. My
mm,
nervous system can relax. I'm not, yeah, I don't have all these things to worry about to survive. I have the opportunity to do that work for her that she never
mm,
really had. And I can see that it's changing her too.
mm,
And um it's beautiful because it's like, Mom, you didn't have that chance. Like you were struggling, a lot of your life, and you did things based on, society and religion and culture. But I'm going to help you through that, what you couldn't go through, and I'm going to do it through me,
mm,
And people often don't realize this, like that the work that they're doing, it's helping their parents and their grandparents. And they may not pick up on it, or they may pick up on it. I have picked up on it. It's very
mm,
subtle. It's very subtle, but it's there. Trust me.
mm,
Like observe, So it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. It's a gift to give, to the past generations who couldn't do that.
mm,
Um, and as we go on more and more and more, we're lowering that burden from our kids, or whatever, the next generations. And it's a beautiful gift. It really is. It's there's we don't put enough um like reward on that. We
mm.
don't. We really don't. We should really be celebrating it like we passed a university degree, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's we should all, like, we should ring our friends back. Listen, I just like, ended a pattern. I
Yeah.
just healed a trauma. Let's go out, girls, and just have a party. Like we should do that shit. It's like, because that's how big it is. It's massive.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. And I'm so with you. And I'm so blessed. I have a dear friend who, there's been some big patterns and things that I've been working through as well too. And like I'll say it and she'll just go, congratulations.
Mm.
Congratulate. And it's just so beautiful. It's because it is big. It is big. And do you talk to your mum about it or do you just notice the shifts because it's too big for her to see?
No, I don't really talk to her about it, but
Yeah.
I notice the shifts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And towards me, she's behaving differently, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's, yeah, that's what I pick up on
Mm,
and her bandwidth is bigger too.
mm,
With she can deal with more than
yeah.
she used to. So there's little things that you pick up on, and they're not coincidences. They're not.
No.
I mean, she's not. She doesn't do this stuff. So how
Mm,
is she changing?
mm,
So.
yeah. Yeah, and it goes. I mean, I was listening recently to a guy talking about trauma, and like I always thought, like the trauma can go back 7 generations, but he's actually saying it's 8. And so, like the stuff that the patterns that we're breaking are huge, and past, present, and future all exist now anyway. So it's like we're just it's happening now, and the people that came before us, the souls that did, like they're cheering us on.
Yeah.
Like and we've got that strength within, and I love that you notice it because it is the little things. They're the little, like when you can notice those things, like that is just a gift. It's a gift to be able to do it. And I'm so with you. I think we need to high five everyone every time they break a pattern. Just like high five, that's fucking awesome. Because it is, it's huge. I love that you said that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, far out. Well, I could talk to you all day, Dee. Which is
Same. I've never talked so much before. It's you make it really easy.
oh, thanks, mate. No, it's awesome. It's so good to connect with you. Like, so what have you got like coming up? Like for people who are like, who is this beautiful woman on the screen? I want to connect with her more. Like, how do they find you or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked that. At this moment, I'm actually developing a website platform where I want to put a lot of like the knowledge that I have around health, and because we live in a society where there's information overload, right?
Yes.
And you notice a symptom or you notice a condition, you type it into Google and there's like thousands of things that will come up, right?
Mm,
And it confuses the shit out of people. So what I want to do is create a platform where, based on my experiences as a naturopath, and what I see has actually worked on my patients and what's actually bullshit and don't even bother trying,
mm-hmm.
put that into like a database for people to read about, and ways that it can, because I know a lot of people want to help themselves when it comes to their health. Like
Yeah.
they're not really, and I'm the same. Like I want to learn, I want to empower myself. So yeah, so people can go on there and they can look up their symptoms and look up certain health conditions and look at where that's coming from, how to help themselves. And I like to also incorporate, energetics to that, what patterns might be causing that, what emotions might be causing that. So it's a holistic approach. And as part of that, it would be like a little membership thing. And then if they're part of the membership and they're finding they still can't help themselves by self-learning, they can book in an appointment with me to help them through it at a discounted rate because they're part of the membership. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then as part of that, I want to create like a community where I can recommend certain body workers who can help them and
Mm,
people who I trust and know are good people and are good at what they do.
mm,
And there's quite a lot of amazing people I've met along the way, and I want to put them on there too. And I just also want to incorporate like, what I've learned with the government and how to slip through the cracks,
yeah.
like things that you don't need to kill yourself to do, and how you can just follow your own lane without being so restricted. So
Mm,
I want to share that kind of information on my platform, which I'm building at the moment. But I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. I don't really use it much, to be honest. I'm more of an Instagram chick.
mm-hmm.
I have a TikTok account, which I don't use as much as well. What else do I have? Mm,
YouTube.
YouTube. Oh, yeah. So I do podcasts where I interview people as well, and that's YouTube and Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, me and Annette, the White Pill, we're starting like a little series as well where we want to talk about symbolism and specific topics and specific things that we're noticing, patterns. So the next one we're going to do is, so we've done one last week and we're still editing that to put it out there. The second one we want to do is talk about these murder cases and how we're noticing patterns in specific murder cases, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It's a little
Mm,
bit hard because we're trying to show patterns and what we're seeing, but we don't want to come across insensitive. These are real lives that have lost, so we want
yeah.
to, it's one of those ones where we want you to get information from that, but not come across as like this is fake. It's not fake,
Mm,
it's real people.
mm,
So, and that's the thing with symbolism. There's a lot of blocks there, where people will get offended if we talk about this or that because you're not acknowledging what happened. And yes, we
mm,
are acknowledging that. It doesn't mean you be passive, Anyway, I'm
mm.
going on a tangent, but
Love
that's
it.
all. That's another little project there, and Yeah, so that's basically everything I'm working on at the moment, and or how people can follow or reach me, and if they resonate with all of that anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I'll put all your links in the description as well. I'd love to know when your membership's going to be open. I think there might be people saying, "When is it ready, Dee?"
Oh, look, it's still maybe another 2 months,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
lot
because
of work, isn't it?
yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't want to open it when I've just got like like it's not full of content. I want
Yeah.
to add in the content so people have something to go with.
Mm.
So yeah, hopefully we'll see how we go. Fingers crossed. It's a bit fiddly, but yeah, that's my kind of um I guess project and goals at the moment that I think are working for me, but could always change.
Yeah.
Everything's always changing. So
Yeah, it does,
yeah.
doesn't it? And I love that because you always follow your intuition. Like that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
you got to do it. You got to do it. Hey.
Exactly. And I'm not afraid if something doesn't feel right for me anymore, I'm not afraid to just drop it and be like,
Yes.
oh, you don't serve me anymore. I
Mm,
can say like, fortunately, I'm good like that. If it
mm,
doesn't feel right, I just can't go against my feelings, and I'll drop things just like that if I have to, if it's not aligned to me anymore, which is a good thing. Some people
yeah.
struggle with that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything else on your heart that you want to share before we wrap up today?
Honestly, I feel like I've shared everything. Hey, like you really open a safe space for me to just pour everything out. So
Awesome.
apologies for my rants if I ranted a bit or
Not at all, mate. It was
dumped
awesome.
everything on you. But yeah, like I've really enjoyed this chat, and appreciate you coming on and just letting me let it all out. I haven't really done that, to be honest.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I feel honored and I'm so grateful because I think you're a bloody champion. So I'm so stoked that we finally get to meet face to face on the screen at least. And I just think you're awesome. And everything that you shared today was just beautiful. And I know that people will be resonating with it so much. So I'm so grateful for that. So love chatting with you, woman. You're a
Thank
champion.
you. Thanks, Narita. I'm so grateful I've met you, and I've met so many amazing souls, and you're one of them. And it's
Mm,
been such a blessing. It's such a blessing,
yeah.
and I really hope we meet in person one day. It'd be nice.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a sing out when I'm in Sydney. Next time I'm in
Yeah,
Sydney. Yeah, you're
please
in
do.
Sydney? I think you
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
Yeah,
Sydney.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, just thank you so much. And just again, while I'm thanking you, I want to thank you at home for tuning
Mm.
into this epic chinwag. Dee is just awesome. As always, thank you for being here. Leave a comment, share anything. And if I got that movie right, put it in the comments. Just all that sort of stuff. Always love hearing from you. Thank you for being here. And yeah, just thanks again, Dee, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.